evening, everyone, and welcome to the Manly Battleships YouTube channel. I'm Mr. Panda.
And I'm Rockstar.
And this is our show, Last Week in Geek, the video podcast on YouTube where we cover everything that happened last week in Geek. It's very clever.
You know, if you tell people it's clever, it's no longer as clever as you think. Do you want to start us off with new media or what?
That thing. After placing the Obi-Wan Kenobi prequel series on the back burner, Lucasfilms has decided to postpone everything and go back to the drawing board because they didn't like where production was going. I don't know what went wrong, but I guess Ewan McGregor was just too memey for them.
Hello there.
If you want some Kenobi content and you just can't get enough of those TikToks, there is a fan film on YouTube that you can watch. It's only 18 minutes long, so it's...
Don't say it's interesting. No one needs to hear that. We almost shook that.
It's really good. That's what I was going to say. It's actually really good. I just started watching it, and I really want to get to the end.
If that wasn't enough for you, the Clone Wars final season also has a trailer. And we continue to be puzzled on the issue of how does anyone not notice that Anakin is turning to the dark side?
I ask myself that every other episode.
This is the problem when you start pulling the strings back together and putting in between stories. Suddenly nothing makes sense anymore. Here's Looking at You sequel trilogy. That will be available February 21st.
After The Mandalorian ended, Twitter and the rest of the internet went ablaze about what new characters we might encounter. Maybe someone who was familiar to us. Some fans did some quick math and realized that Ahsoka Tano from the Clone Wars would still be alive around that era. And they kind of started this whole, I guess, hashtag for...
campaign to get Rosario Dawson in the role, who seems very excited about it, by the way. If they can give us a darksaber that no one actually cares about, they can do Rosario Dawson. I said it.
With Ahsoka Tano's, white blades? Oh, yeah, that would be so cool. And in this week of live-action movies we don't want Disney to remake, Bambi. Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
Bambi. They want to do a Bambi live-action movie. Traumatized children all over again. Yeah, we're all so...
Kick them at the box office with Lion King. Kick them in the box office with this. Kick them in the box office with that. How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? Bambi! Yeah, I'm really excited about the part where the hunter comes up and blasts his mom away. And then, I don't know, I guess we'll see that moment of human compassion where the hunter decides not to blow away the kid and just leave him to starve in the wilderness. Because that's what you do. The Uncharted movie, if you're a fan of that, has been pushed back. Again. It was originally slated to be released in December of this year, but it's been pushed back all the way to March of 2021 for reasons we don't know or care about.
Tell us how you really feel, Panda. If you're a fan of romance anime, we have a new US trailer for you for a show called Ride the Wave, which will encompass a romance between a fireman and a surfer girl. And it's actually only out in theaters for one day only, February 19th, so you better get those tickets to take your loved one to a belated Valentine's Day.
If you haven't tossed enough coins to your Witcher, have no fear. Netflix has decided they're going to release an animated movie with Studio Mir, the same studio that did Legend of Korra. Some people are calling it an anime movie. Those people are wrong, because Studio Mir is not an anime studio. Be that as it may, we're super excited to see more stuff being added to the Witcher franchise because it's such a cool thing to actually see them develop. And I'm really excited for the next season. Just gonna put that out there.
I mean,
I'm in for 8 seasons in a movie.
Not to dissuade you or anything. I'm just waiting for Netflix to be like, this is our only award-hitting show. We're just going to keep milking it. And suddenly it's going to be The Witcher 38. He goes out to space.
I think the worst we have to look forward to is potentially ending it just like Game of Thrones. But maybe Netflix will have a little more sense than that. Incidentally, those of you who are excited about the animated movie, it's called The Witcher Nightmare of the Wolf. I get the feeling that it's going to be something about his background... House of the Witcher. I don't know. I'm actually not as familiar with the Witcher canon other than with the show. So, someone out there can explain it to me what this might entail. We finally got some new information on that Hunger Games prequel that some of you are excited about and many others are rolling their eyes about. It's going to focus in on the character of President Snow. So I'm finally moved from the there's nothing here to talk about to the you have my attention. I'm actually interested in the political intrigue side of the Capitol, to be perfectly honest. If there was going to be a character they would focus on, that I would hope. I'm glad they didn't just think of another random teenager to stick in there and follow the whole time. I'm glad it's going to be someone whose, like, presence is both menacing and intriguing through the entire original series.
Well, this is going to be a young President Snow, so he's not even going to be a president. He's
I
going to be fresh-faced, like...
We get to see his rise to power, I assume. They'll be great. Kill, fucking bribe his way to the top.
Meme of the week! Meme of the week! Here we go on to the meme of the week.
The meme of the week this week has been chosen by myself, and of course it has to be topical and current. So we've selected this fine piece, which we've helpfully dubbed Winnie the Flu. So if you've been following the developments of the coronavirus, you gotta combine some memes and create new memes. That's how, you hybridize them, so we have a real-world event combined with the ongoing criticism of the Chinese government. Guess what, guys? The Chinese are still going to make sure you can't talk about the coronavirus because we've made it worse. So without further delay, we'll continue on to the real news. A touching moment occurred at the 47th Annie Awards this year, featuring an in memoriam segment for the Kyoto Animation Studio, including showing an older short that they did, Baha no Studio.
Here we have some updates where I feel like it's just going to be video games, their lawsuits, and their problems. It's a very long title, but you'll understand what's going on here very soon. We're going to start off with Nintendo. If you remember, in the European countries, Nintendo was currently being sued because of their non-refundable pre-orders that they have. The European courts ruled in Nintendo's favor, allowing them to continue the practice. However, the case is currently being appealed.
And we have no idea where that's going to go, because Europe has historically been a lot more pro-consumer than the US. Forcing Steam to allow resales and complaining about Microsoft, having a monopoly with Internet Exploder and all sorts of stuff.
Internet Exploder?
Internet Exploder.
I think that should just be its canon name.
Can you believe that Internet Explorer has a longer shelf life than Edge? This blows my mind, just like the web browser whenever you try to open something important.
Meanwhile, Bethesda is trying to get back on the players' good graces.
And failing.
Oh, well, it's slightly winning. Let's give them a little bit of praise. Just the slightest modicum.
Let's give him a little piece of Czechoslovakia, a little piece of this European country. He won't take he took Poland.
Did you just make a Hitler joke?
Did I just compare Bethesda to Nazi Germany? Maybe. I am not suggesting you subject my comparison to scientific standards of inquiry. I'm merely making a suggestion.
You see, recently, PC players logged into their accounts only to find their entire inventory stolen by other enterprising players who took advantage of a bug in the game.
Just like the Nazis.
Bethesda has now fixed the bug, but for any of the players who went and reported their inventory being stolen in a ticket, they have actually not just gotten all of their inventory back, but they have gotten more atoms than somebody that would have been in the Fallout First program. 3 months worth of it. That left some players pretty damn happy. For once. Normally they're angry.
It only took
reason.
It only took overcompensation to finally get people back in line to be paying customers, right?
It's not that hard to do something good. In a final bit of video games and lawsuits, we have Riot Games. If you remember, earlier last year, Riot Games was dealing with claims of gender discrimination. And from the last time we checked up on them, the settlement was about $10 million. But the California Department of Fair Employment and the Division of Labor Standards Enforcement have decided they are petitioning to try to change the course of the settlement. They felt that the women's lawyers were not doing enough and had not done enough of their homework, and they feel that the settlement is actually worth over $400 million. Of course, Riot Games...
Did California just mansplain to these women how much they should be compensated?
I bet you they're actually women. Excuse me? Did you just assume their gender?
Rockstar, did you just assume that anyone but straight white men were running a government office?
No, you're right.
Don't try to tell me about anything. I don't even care if it's California. There's probably some white guy up there at the top. Isn't the governor of California white right now? I don't know. I need to find out. Hang on a second. Yeah, look at this. Look at this pasty bastard. Yeah, there's a white guy at the top.
That's not going to show up on the camera well at all. Of course, Riot Games is not very happy about the idea of them joining the lawsuit to help them out for more money.
Listen, they're not just going to get money. This isn't about money. This is about a shit ton of money! Further litigation occurred recently from a serial litigator called Amro Elasari, who has decided to sue Jagex, the maker of RuneScape, because they muted his account. He feels that this action is interfering with his civil rights to freedom of speech, among other things. Where this will go, we have no idea.
No,
I don't know if there's a precedent for this.
No. It's already done.
Did they settle?
No, they didn't settle. The court said it doesn't violate your civil rights. And basically threw his case out. So
sorry, guys. The government's not going to interfere if you curse online and get banned.
You know what's really funny is this serial litigator comes from our neck of the woods.
Oh, boy.
He's from PA.
Of course he's from Pennsylvania.
He's from PA, and he has litigated everybody, basically, from his apartment complex to the freaking University of Pennsylvania. So, I guess it's just, where is he going next?
I mean, I guess if you throw enough stuff at the wall, something's going to stick eventually. Maybe that's his plan.
That sounds like a costly plan, but whatever. Are you millennials not happy with TikTok? Not happy with YouTube? Do you feel a bitter loneliness, an empty hole in your heart when Vine left? Well, the Vine co-founder has an app for you, and it's called Byte. Welcome to 6 seconds of video again.
It's a little late, guys. You could have done this years ago. I mean, like, I was a doubting Thomas, but, honestly, TikTok's working out for us right now, so, come join us.
Yeah, seriously, come watch our TikToks. It's freaking amazing. Last week we had, the camo stuff come out from the Space Force.
Yeah, people complaining about the uniforms and, whatever.
Well, this week we get a logo, and Trekkie fans seem to find something very suspicious about this new logo for the Space Force because it looks ironically just like the Star Trek insignia.
Very similar. I won't say it looks exactly the same. It looks very similar. But you know what?
Very similar.
You know what? I think it's a good thing. Like, people can complain about it all because think about what people have, how people categorize the future as depicted in Star Trek, with the notable exception of the newest entry in Star Trek. I'm not going to talk about Star Trek Discovery today or any day. But Star Trek is one of those exceptions to the popular consumption of the sci-fi scene. People like to talk about sci-fi because it always depicts these gloomy futures where everything sucks and it's super dystopian. Star Trek is one of the few mainstream series that depicts, technology is good. It doesn't lead to immediate deprivation. It doesn't lead to this huge middle class. No, everything is cool in the future. Yeah, we have our problems in international relations, Klingons. Romulans, the Dominion. Anyway, that's not important. But technology is good for society. And space exploration is good for society.
That just sounds like... Oh, help me out here. What is it that... Our push... Manifest Destiny! Are you trying to push Manifest Destiny onto space?
Well, happily, there are no aliens for us to genocide yet. I'm sorry, that would be xenocide, wouldn't it?
Hear me out, okay?
When we find them, it will be Manifest Destiny again.
10,000 years in the future, they see this old logo, they see the Star Trek videos.
Well, then it's just going to be Galaxy Quest.
Exactly, historical
documents. And now we finally get to the controversial story of the night. If you spend a lot of time at conventions, you've probably been walking the floor, minding your own business, and all of a sudden, around the corner comes someone wearing a very interesting piece of apparel. White base with a lot of comic-like artsy depictions of women. Women's faces. Making a silly face, as it's called, or more popularly known on the internet as Ahegao. Very popular on long-sleeve t-shirts, hoodies, and in some cases, like full-on body suits and all sorts of random pieces of clothing. I've even seen an umbrella. You guys are like really on board with this meta meme. Let me tell you something. Here's the thing. Now, from the get-go, this was always kind of like a borderline tacky thing to wear. I'm just gonna be honest with you. If anything, the only reason it hit up so popular, I think, is because it was just so bombastic of a trope that it even started leaking over into mainstream anime for a while. You just saw them just throwing it in there, just like, oh, look, silly face. So yeah, it grew to quite a height of popularity for a while there, and apparently some conventions have had enough of that. According to this source that we pulled for this episode, a bunch of conventions in the Midwest, 3, have started banning Ahegao apparel. But according to our source, the first one that did it in this, specifically here in January, was Colorado Anime Fest. 2 other conventions, Anime Milwaukee and Anime Detour out of Minnesota, quickly followed suit. This has not pleased everybody, though I will go ahead and note here, these are actually not the first cons to do this. It very well could be even another one that we don't know about, but as far back as November of 2019, a convention called SunnyCon Anime Expo also banned Ahegao apparel. So you kind of need to update that just a little bit. The thrust of the argument behind this is that times have kind of changed, and it's time to kind of clean up our act when it comes to what is and what isn't appropriate to wear on the convention floor. Obviously, it has enough support to go through, and there are plenty of people who are pleased to see this go away. There's more than one reason about that, incidentally. Of course, there's the idea that, oh yeah, this is kind of just an in real life cropped porn meme. But in addition to that, there has been a little bit of murmur about the whole issue of stolen art, whether or not collages and memes are, qualify as stolen art or fair use or whatever.
Well, isn't there also the issue of there might be Loli and Shota on some of...
Oh, Rockstar. That's not an issue. That's a known thing. That's not a potential issue. Yeah, that's known.
But there you go. I was adding it on the list of issues.
But of course, with that comes a little bit of a pushback, and that's been expressed in many different ways to varying levels of hyperbole. But the arguments basically boil down to, things like freedom of expression. In the realm of ranking what is and what is not appropriate or obscene, there are other things that have been pushed out there on the con floor before that are arguably as drastic. And of course, there's the argument that specifically because it's cropped, that's the whole point. That's what makes it showable in public without showing anything that is immediately obvious as obscene. Also, as pointed out by at least one user, Karen, why do your kids know what that is? That's a really important question to be asking as well. And I don't know. I was very much on the fence about the entire thing from the get-go when people started doing it. I know that you raised concerns about things like kids wearing Ahegao apparel.
And that goes not hyperbole. I've seen it too. I've seen it and I am disturbed, but I am not that parent's, I'm not that child's parent. I'm so disturbed I can't even.
And I mean, like I said, from the get-go, I've always felt it was a little bit tacky at minimum. I don't feel like this is the best way to be dealing with any perceived issues about it, because quite frankly, unlike things like in the past, cons have banned various things that were at one point or another like meta to the fandom. Yaoi paddles had a much more direct problem with them when people were starting to claim that they were being used against them without consent, and of course, that's basically assault right there on the get-go.
So I just want to jump off that point real quick and make the counterpoint that if these cons did it, there might be a reason that we're not seeing where, I don't know,
flip up they take their Ahegao towel, get it wet, flip it up and go.
Ahegao towels? Are there such
Has someone made an Ahegao towel yet?
No,
Can I have
stop.
it?
No. My thing is, I would like to hear the reasons why, besides the fact of they feel it's offensive. Offensive can be very subjective, as we've seen with when it comes to like what are they called, those laws about like
obscenity?
Obscenity laws. Those are very subjective.
Tell me about it.
And so I can understand that there's a bit of subjectiveness coming from whether or not the cons particularly felt they wanted it gone from there. But I want to know if there was a problem. If like, oh, there's just way too many people, or like kids were, I don't know. Like, I can't think of a direct reason why it might cause an actual problem. Like, maybe too many parents did complain about it, and Khan's just tired of hearing it. You know, I'm trying to see it from a practical standpoint than I'm outraged.
Yeah, and I mean, like, there certainly is an argument to make. Okay, first of all, if it wasn't obvious in how we approach these kinds of issues, Khans can do whatever they want. They're the ones that have to make the decision about what is worth their time, their resources to enforce, and how it's going to affect their customers, the attendees. Because a lot of, in case you didn't realize, most cons at this point are starting to veer towards the for-profit motive, which is why you see a lot more of these changes from time to time.
Well, especially because I feel like our fandom is growing up. Like, yeah, there's a big influence. I meant children. I meant milestones, not growing up in... I was going to say in the head. You know what I meant. We're still childish at heart, but some of us are starting to have children. And I feel like our children, just because we're in the fandom and we introduce the kids to the fandom, are already a little bit more inclined to know about the adult themes, just because anime, it's for children, but they don't shy away from adult themes as much as, say, Disney cartoons. And we're not in Japan. We're in America, where everything's Disney, so I can kind of understand this Disney mentality of we need to protect the children that the parents come in with these kids.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I acknowledge that. Just like we went through this struggle back when game tournaments became a lot more mainstream and more people were coming in. You know, there were certain things that were tolerated in the smaller version of the community that weren't as practical when, you know, game tournaments started getting streamed live on the internet, and you had thousands of people who weren't as accustomed to the crassness of the old game tournament scene, where you could just rip on your opponents at will without any, you know, repercussions, and no one batted an eye. You know, shit talking is no longer as much of the scene. In fact, it's basically against the rules these days. So yeah, I can see that especially some of these newer venues wanting to kind of morph themselves with the changing times. At the same time, though, I have a number of concerns, and like, this is something that the initial concern that I had in the first place was the potentiality of a rise again in the fandom Puritan movement. And this is you would be surprised how old this issue is, because if you go back far enough on internet forums, my favorite is visiting the old Christian otaku forums. And you find out that there was this entire small community of super Christians, and how anime can apply to everyday moral lessons with our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
Dude.
And it's such an exciting time. And this
You have the manga, the Messiah. It's this really, I have to say, it's really bad artwork. But it's all about Jesus Christ the Messiah.
They needed to make Jesus hit for the cool kids. Manga. And I'm not calling out these specific communities in general. A lot of them are fantastic people, and I've met them over the years. That's not what I'm talking about. What I am talking about is when you start, this wouldn't be the first time that people are being uptight about things that don't have an explicit harmful mechanism, at least not one that's obvious to me. Back in this mid to late 2000s, it was a lot of, I don't want my kid going to a shoujo ai panel because lesbians and the gays, and you know, the whole weird subtext of anti-gay sentiment in part of the fan community, which was probably one of the most unfortunate chapters in our existence, honestly. I'm always immediately suspicious when someone comes out so strongly against something that's not explicitly obscene. Like, this isn't something like a body pillow that needs to be covered up. And yet, by the way, these events still have body pillows that just have pasties over nipples and stuff. So, exactly what are you complaining about? That's what I'm really concerned about. It's like, I understand the concern about, wanting to rein people in, not wanting to go too, not wanting to bridge into pornography, obviously. And I've seen some stuff that even goes beyond the classically memey Ahegao collage. I've seen some stuff that was far worse. But you have other things that we do, things in the dealer's room that are not openly obscene, but are, screened or censored. You have the ongoing fight in the cosplay community about what level of exposure of a body is considered appropriate for a public space versus a semi-closed space and all that nonsense.
Closer to home, we have the tightening up of what's acceptable at 18 plus panels and
God, don't even get me started.
Of time, like 18 plus is now 3 or 4 hours. It used to be so much more back in the day.
Some cons have tossed out 18 plus programming altogether because adults don't matter.
And I'm starting to wonder if what's really happening is there's a lack of expression for the older adults who want to, just be, themselves. And sometimes their real selves is just a little bit pervy, and not in the bad way of pervy, just we want to go out and talk about hentai. We want to talk about these 18 plus topics. Yeah. And I'm starting to wonder if what we're really seeing is there's way too many
pent-up aggression? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
There's way too many family-friendly cons. And the reason I say that is there are cons that are family-friendly, like Otakon. And then there are cons where you're not family-friendly. You're just pretending to be family-friendly because you want everyone to come there. I won't call those out. But...
And I think there's also the cons that are family-friendly, and what they mean is family-exclusive.
Yeah. And I think what we need is 18-plus con, only. We used to have some.
There were a handful of experimental ones, yeah.
There was,
there's still one. Yeah, well, that was a long time ago. Showed my age. Nauticon is still going on up in Massachusetts, last I heard. But, of course, they're a pretty small event, very closed community. And that's how a lot of there's a new 21 plus con. I think that's a little more free range that I just heard about out in the Penn State area. But they're coming back, and I think that is representative of what you're talking about. How there's this almost like a feeling of lack of inclusion.
Well, because our fans tell us all the time they want to see more 18 plus content, and I always feel bad because we give cons so many 18, a lot of options, and we mostly end up doing PG stuff and some 18 plus content, but it's almost never enough to please our fans. And it's not that we don't want to do it. In fact, we were based off of 18 plus. We started our career that way, and we have a whole bunch that still haven't even made it to the con floor once, just because they're tightening up and they have to be very selective. I bet you they have a lot of 18 plus paneling, and they're well, we can only choose 6.
In the interest of getting back specifically on this topic, I hope that this doesn't become a widespread convention theme, because I don't think it will end well. I think there's going to be so much pushback in some, especially the East Coast cons. Maybe in the Midwest it really is different. Maybe there is too much homegrown corn grower animosity towards Ahegao.
Are you?
But ho-dunks.
Hey, we have had.
Thank God we live in this quiet little mountain ho-dunk town.
Don't be.
Oh, wait, one of them really is in Colorado, isn't it? Jeez.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Don't be so quick to throw out that kind of stuff, because we've had it thrown back our way.
Not Pennsylvania. Not Pennsylvania. There's Harrisburg, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and racist. Oh, okay. That was
Pennsylvania.
I was firing harder shots than you, apparently.
So yeah, I mean, that's obviously probably one of the issues. We have our own little section of that here, but who doesn't?
Yeah.
In the continental United States. But I unfortunately predict that this is going to become a bigger trend all over. I know you don't want it to go that way, and I'm not saying I want it to go
Well,
that way.
that's what I
I'm
hope.
just saying it is. It's they are not the only ones I've seen complaining about it. I've seen thousands of people complaining about Ahegao on Twitter. It's just I mean,
because Twitter, of course, is the bastion of echoing. So one person starts complaining about it, everyone starts complaining about it, they find 100 reasons to complain about something, and then never look at the fact that if you transferred the fundamental concept of what they're complaining about over to anything they love, suddenly it's not an issue. Don't even get me started about what people put on t-shirts. Jesus. You know, it's like I said. For me, the issue comes down to, Ahegao shirts are annoying, and I'm not going to say they're not, but the thing that's more annoying to me are people complaining about Ahegao shirts. Because it's not worth your time.
I have something more annoying.
All right, go ahead.
People with fucking personal speakers!
Oh, boy.
Fucking, that, if the cons are gonna ban anything, it should be people with fucking personal speakers who feel they need to, like, make it louder than the fucking crowd. If I can hear you coming from down the fucking hall, you shouldn't have a speaker put in fucking headphones.
That's all we got for this week, ladies and gentlemen, here at Last Week in Geek. We at Manually Battleships appreciate you sitting through this longer episode than average, and we hope that you will hit the like button, and if you're new to the channel, hit subscribe and ring the bell so that you know when all our new fun videos are coming out, because we'll continue to publish here as well as on our new TikTok experiment. So, we'll catch you next time, guys.
See you next week!